Hi, this is Dharma, a life and a wellness coach. Friend of mine, Swan Jha, reached out to me to talk about my running journey, my vegan journey, and my entrepreneur's journey, and also life in as a whole. She runs this podcast called The Blessed Girl Show, which is all about sports, fitness, and wellness. I think the podcast itself has been running for the last 3 months, well over close to 15 episodes. She talks to interesting people from these backgrounds in India and outside of India. So there are some great profiles to look at. These are available on all the social media. Specifically, YouTube is a better place where you can go and find all these conversations. So do find in some time to tune in and listen to some of these interesting conversations. And if you like it, please go ahead and share it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Blessed Girl Show. So today we have a special guest joining us from Bangalore, and he is one of the ultra marathon runners and a person I have come across who really encouraged me in a journey of vegan lifestyle. He has done almost over 5 years of Kardung, the highest mountain peak for 72 kilometers, multiple times, of course. Apart from that, he would always run the next day 42 kilometers. So the entire journey of being an ultra marathon runner and being a vegan runner is what really encouraged me to really connect and interview him today. I would love to go ahead and talk about his more journey and interview him. So let's hear from Dharmendra Kumar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Swan. I'm happy to be here and try to share a bit of my journey, and hopefully this helps some soul down out there.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving your time, first of all, and making this work out. So lovely to have you here. So, to begin with, I would definitely, this is a fundamental question, and I have never asked you. So, I would love to know that what made you go ahead with running? How did it start?
Yeah, so that happened. Of all the things, it happened while reading the newspaper in Bangalore. When I looked at the sports section, I read about this news about a 10K event happening in the city of Bangalore, where they had said that some 20,000 people are going to be participating in that. And I was like, why is that I'm not in it? So of course, prior to that, I wasn't into running per se. I was more into playing football and cricket at a very casual level. I wouldn't say at a serious level. But I was involved with outdoor sports. So I said, I've been in the city for long, and this is going to be, which I thought would be enough. But we all know that it's not enough, and then we all struggle when we go in the actual run. That's how it started. So I could say that it started more on a whim to just be part of a activity that was happening in the city, and this was way back in 2000. This was way back in 2009.
Wow. So 11 years precisely. And how has it been for you now? And especially in the COVID times, how exactly you are able to take yourself to that level of discipline which is required? Because I think there hasn't been any precisely 42 kilometers run or ultra, the kind of runs you are doing. So how are you training at this moment?
So, of course, with respect to COVID per se, I think we have been, most of the runners, I think we were there in lockdown for almost 1.5 months.
Yeah.
And then the lockdown were a bit relaxed, where people were allowed to go out, and at least in the morning. But during the lockdown, I completely stayed at home. Okay. I didn't even go for my walks. I said, okay, this is going to be a little different from what I'm used to, but let's see how this how this responds. And I think it gave me a lot of time to reflect upon and spend more time at home. I think it did it for everybody.
Yeah.
And uh, I think in India we are blessed with what we call as a terrace, and fortunately my building had a terrace, so that was my outdoor space. And because we were not going out more often, I was able to use my time on the terrace quite often, morning, evening, in the night sometimes, which I would have never done otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So I started looking at activities which I can do at home. At home, I started getting into cooking a lot, considering that I follow a specific diet. Then
Yeah.
cooking became an interesting activity. And I think there was quite a lot of things that I enjoyed during that process. And once the lockdown was relaxed a bit, where we were allowed to go out,
Yeah.
or rather we could take a chance to go out.
Yeah.
I think I somehow uh, ran more, in fact, because since we are all staying at home most of the time, there was more time available for us to run, and a
Yeah.
lot of impact in terms of business. We could step out much earlier to what we could do otherwise.
Yeah.
And I ended up running, at least for the next 6 months, much more than what I would have done without the COVID.
Wow.
The first 1.5 months, zero running, but beyond that, for the next 6 months, I think I probably covered up much for that which I had missed.
So in a way, you would say that you compensated the 1.5 months which you missed. Actually, in a way, you have adjusted that, not to worry about that kind of a thing. Nice.
And the best part in that particular run was that a lot of the city was, I would say, open to runners, in the sense that because of certain blockages, certain restrictions, runners got kind of a field day of sorts, where empty roads, less traffic. So I think we made a good use of that. But I think towards the end, or maybe by August last year, things were starting to get normal. August, September. Fortunately, city of Bangalore was opening up much faster than any other city.
Yes.
So after a point, even a less reduction is like crazy traffic, right? So
exactly.
That's how it was.
Yeah, wonderful. So I would like to know what intrigued you to go for veganism. I mean, honestly, for me, the only person I knew who was vegan, I came across in running was you. And that's how our interaction initially, when I think it was a women pacing event, and I was one of the pacers you choose. So that was one of the conversation really stuck with me, and that's how I became a vegan. And certain conversations and everything, that's how it started. But I mean, for you, it has been almost like 8 years, and I think that point of time, it wasn't to that extent that we had hotel or places where we could eat vegan food. So how was that, and what exactly happened there?
I did say that I started with the 10K registration, and then started doing 10K, and next year again I signed up again at 10K. I struggled the first 2 years, and then I decided that this is not going to work out if I continue to do it this way, in the sense that I cannot wake up in the last month and train for a few days and go out in the event and try to do well. So I thought there must be something else to this. That how is that people older than me are able to do this, without sweating it out much. So I started getting into structured training, and then I from 10K I moved on to marathon, and I started getting into this whole cycle of running marathons, going after timing, trying to hit PB after PB. And then and then I kind of got caught in the whole race of racing, if I may call it. And it started giving me stress, to be honest, to the point that I said, no, I'm no longer going to just focus on running a marathon and trying to do a PB every race.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying that, going the extra mile and explore running beyond the marathon. So that's when I started venturing out into ultra marathon, is when I started feeling the need for something beyond the physical, right? Something beyond the training that I used to put earlier.
Yeah.
Until that time, I hadn't made much change to my diet.
Okay.
A half marathon or probably a full marathon, people can continue with the existing diet and try to do a little bit of tweak prior to the event and on the race day.
Yeah.
We can sail through. It's just not the training that's going to take you that far. Training, physical training, mental stamina or mental endurance can only take you that much far, right? Especially if you have to run those distances.
Yeah.
Then I figured out that food plays a big part in this. And then I started researching about this beginning of 2013 about food, what food to eat. So my guidance came from people in the US who are ultra marathoners.
Yeah.
So I started following their journey in terms of what is that they are doing, right? So few of the ultra marathoners, coincidentally, that I kind of followed were vegans, plant-based. So I started picking up clues from their journey, and then I also did my own research of sorts in terms of how clinically such a diet helps. What is the science behind it? So I went into some sort of a research mode for almost 6 months. And over a period of time, I was getting convinced about it, that yes, if I have to make a diet change, probably this is it. This is the best, and this makes a lot of sense, not only from just the endurance perspective, but also from the climate perspective, also from compassion perspective. So everything added up for this diet. And 2013 August, when I turned 35, I kind of used my birthday as the turning point for my vegan journey.
Wow.
And I was very convinced right from day one that this is not going to be a trial diet, in the sense that I'm not going to put my body on a 21-day journey and see how it responds. I was very convinced that I'm going to be a vegan for life right from day one. And that conviction has somewhat helped me sustain not falling back and going to a non-vegan diet. And that conviction or that motivation has further helped me in understanding more about the diet and so on and so forth. I have enjoyed, because as you know that a lot of people think that once we turn vegan, then a lot of things are off the table. In the sense that you can't eat this, you can't eat that. But what we don't realize is how many additions we do to our diet. I started eating lots of fruits which I was not eating earlier. I started eating lots of vegetables which I was not eating earlier. And if you look at the net sum, it's more of an addition than subtraction when it comes to diet. And I started so 2013 August is when I turned vegan. And 2013 or November, I don't remember which month, was the time when I did my first ultra marathon. And all my ultra long distances have been on vegan, and I could see the effect right from the first month itself. I could see the effect in training, in races, and I have never looked back.
Wow, wow. How do you maintain this kind of a, I would say, composure for, I mean, I remember the races of 24 hours run, 72 hours, you're awake and then doing running. And, like, do you see a difference in your body at that moment because you are a vegan, or is there a difference in a sense, or you are just zoned because of the whole training going on and off, as in your running is going on and off on that platform when you're doing a stadium run? Because I remember you have done multiple stadium runs.
Yeah, so I wouldn't know the difference because I haven't done those distances on a non-vegan diet, so I wouldn't know. But what I can tell you is that when I was following this particular diet, I always felt lighter. My recovery was faster. So yes, through the 100Ks, through the 24 hours, we go through a lot of, or rather, we hit a lot of walls, as we call it in the marathon parlance, right?
Yeah.
I did hit the wall, but I was able to recover faster. That is one, and considering, or rather comparing from my previous marathon stint where I was doing on a non-vegan diet, I could see that yes, my recovery is quite faster, and definitely it also helps the mind as well. We always know about the body-mind connection and all of that. So if and that connection is coming from the gut, right? The mind body connection is through the gut, right? So once you are able to replenish food that is helping your gut microbiota, I think to large extent a lot of things is happening in the background just by following a good whole food plant-based diet. Even in fact, in a 10K race, people go through pain, but the idea is to not focus on the pain. The idea is to focus on things which will take your mind away from the pain. For example, you can look at your fellow runners, you can look at the crowd support, you can look at the scenery, and just be with that moment, and not focus too much on the pain. So those aspects also I caught on. And that's why and plus, not only that, I think the other thing that made it a lot easier was I kind of learned to slow down and learn to stop and learn to walk. A lot of people get a feeling that when you are doing 100-kilometer running, you are running all through the 100-kilometer. Yes, there are some people who can do that, but majority of us running 100-kilometer throughout. They got to take their breaks, they got to slow down, they got to walk. And those are the period when you have to be zen in your head. You don't have to be, I would say, tensed about it. You don't have to let a break kind of work against you, right? Especially that, okay, I might miss my cutoff. This is not happening, that's not happening, and so on and so forth. Plus also how you manage your refueling as part of that. And that will only come if you understand your body, if you understand the signs that your body is giving, both in terms of refueling and also in terms of pain and all of that. So you got to be aware. You got to be aware that except for a bad fall or except for a bad landing, most of the injuries don't happen instantaneously. There is a pattern which gets repeated time after time. There's a pattern that gets neglected time after time, and those things lead to injury. But if you are aware, if your awareness comes in much earlier, and if you can start attending to those and not neglect them, then I think people can also avoid injury and not push or force, rather. So I think that awareness, I don't know whether it developed through the diet or it just happened because it had to happen. But that awareness also helped me focus on my running, and the distance was more a matter of time. And it made me a lot more patient. Yeah, that's how I started enjoying that distances.
Absolutely. So how was it in Kardungla? How did you train for that? I mean, and that too with consecutive years showing up and being there and doing next day the marathon as well, apart from the 72 kilometers. So how was that? Was it a planned thing that next year I will do it? Like you gave yourself 1 year, prepared for it? Or I would love to know that.
Yeah, so after 2012, when I started focusing only on ultras, like I said, I started looking out for ultras, unique ultra destinations, and Ladakh was definitely one of it. Place, not but tourist, and he used to tell me about the place that it's heaven and one should definitely go there as soon as possible. So I kind of linked both of these two, and in 2013 September is when I did my first ultra 72 kilometer, the Kardung challenge, and I just signed up. Of course, I trained well for it. I went there in the race. Totally, I would say, totally different terrain, totally different atmosphere, totally different weather, pretty cold, chilled, and all that, which I was not aware of. And sometimes what happens is that if you don't plan too much, it works in your favor. So I went with complete unplanned. I was completely unplanned in terms of what all gears to take and all that. I knew that it was cold, so I just had to prepare a little bit on the cold part. But apart from that, I wasn't that prepared, and I feel in a way that became a blessing. Personally, I feel. And when the run started, I think it was quite good, but after a point when we started ascending altitude, it started getting serious, and then then the realization came that, oh boy, looks like I have signed up for the wrong race. But I think earlier 2013, at that point of time, they did not have the cutoffs. I think they were quite lenient in that. I think they allowed people to probably take 16, 18, 20 hours because they were also trying to promote the category race. So we were lucky. And I literally so the whole, I think I took close to around 11 and a half hours for that 72 kilometer. And through that through that close to 11 and a half hours, I would say I had gone through most of human emotions. So I was happy, I was joyous, I cried, I danced, whatnot, right? You are out there in such a terrain, in the mountain that you can't see a soul. Because the roads were also closed, and you can only see a thin line going down to the city where the end point was, and you can't go back. You can't go. Of course, you can't. You have to keep chugging along to go, and then you realize that okay, this is it. No more signing up for races like this, and so overall. What made it more interesting was when you finished, right? When you finished, I think you get taken over with emotions of completing the run. And of course, there are people at the finish point who are cheering for you, and every runner who finishes. So it's a different atmosphere that you forgot. Absolutely. You forget the hardship that you went through the race. You forget how difficult it was, and then there is a sudden rush of energy that comes through, and then you feel like you feel very vindicated, you feel very powerful, and then that's the moment when you start thinking that okay, I can do anything,
Yep.
And for me personally, at that spur of the moment is when that particular thought came in, that okay, I have done one. I know it was tough, but in the end, it was exciting. How it would be if I am able to do this 10 years on a trot, right? A very crazy, a very
Yeah.
crazy. I would call it a sudden rush of energy, or
Yeah.
whatever or craziness, whatever you call it. But
Yeah.
immediately that thought came, and somewhere down in my unconscious, I kind of kept it and said that okay, I'm going to do this 10 years on a trot, and
Yeah.
I'm just caught into that promise that I made to myself.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Though and every year so I have done 7
Yeah.
on in a row, and every year the experience is different. It's not
Yeah.
about it's not about just that particular route and the race, but every time I go there as a tourist, I visit different places, and it feels so fresh every time. The place has some magic, so
Wonderful.
I will go there as long as possible. I'm already planning what I'm going to do after I complete my 10th, because I'm
Wow.
definitely going there. But do I go in as a participant, or I go in just as a tourist? But definitely I want to be connected with that place.
Wow, wonderful. I think, and plus the entire part, I think the best part was you finished in 11 and a half hours in 2013, which is actually a very wonderful timing.
What I call veganism beyond the diet, and take it to the purview of the mind and the soul as well.
Yeah.
Also, I think it was the first year itself when I had gone for the run in 2013. Ended up listening to a particular tune, a prayer, in one of the stores there, and that kind of was very intriguing to me, as if something was being called out and all of that. That tune was very very, very intriguing, and I ended up finding more about that. And it was basically a Buddhist chant, which I picked up, and then I started listening to it. I used to listen back here in Bangalore and all of that. And one particular song, or rather one particular prayer or chant, was my favorite in that whole series. And when I researched, it ended up to be the Song of Compassion, Buddha, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so it's in Tibetan. I'm pretty bad at the pronunciation and all that, but I can definitely share it with you.
Yeah.
I think Buddha has been identified different avatars, and this one was Avalokiteswara, which is the Buddha of compassion. And this song is a prayer or a praise in that regard. And I think more than the song, the tune of the song, the tone of the song is something very, very, very catchy for me.
Got it.
And we all know that sound or energy or vibrations tune your mind and body. So
Absolutely.
doing an activity like say yoga or running can also help you get or achieve something in the mind space, in the soul space.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be only movements. It could be also music. For example, listening to music. The sound has great healing powers and all of that. It can also change you for good. So that connection also came in as part of it.
Sure.
So these two connections I always felt added more relevance to my trip, added more relevance to my runs, and every year picked up something or the other. Plus also the people out there who follow a very simple lifestyle in terms of what is expected out of them, or how the religion teaches them. It's lovely that we have a place like that in India, so close by. We don't have to we don't have to worry too much about getting there and all that. So we are lucky that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. So, I mean, I would love to know how then this transition of a startup started for you, because you were IT person, you did your engineering and everything. So what exactly was it a kind of a after run, kind of a exploration part, or it was something you wanted to do, but it just happened that that was the time that you took a call?
Yeah, so my entrepreneurship journey actually started in 2008, to be honest.
Okay.
When I was consulting for my company in the US, and 2008 is when the housing meltdown happened. The economy collapse happened in 2008, and you know I was reading a lot about how did the collapse happen, because it was everywhere. That news was everywhere. You could not escape that news, right? And then I realized with respect to US that how the economy is running on small and medium enterprises. Of course, there are these big corporations which we always hear about, but the underlying foundation of that economy is the small and medium enterprises. And I kind of related to that yes, that's how it should be, where every people like normal people like you and me should get an opportunity to do business and help in a small way. So I think the seeds of that entrepreneurship started germinating in 2000. And then I decided that somewhere down the line, I started having a dream of owning my own enterprise. What it would be, when I would do it, I didn't have an idea. So 2008 end of the year is when I came back to India. And I started looking at what is that I can do. Do I continue in my corporate life, or do I start exploring or taking risk outside? It took me some time, and I think it was June of 2010 is when I decided that yes, I think now is the time that I should start looking and taking some risk. So also by that time, I wasn't too much into running at that point of time.
That was initial year, I think.
Yeah, that was initial year, but I was very convinced about starting up whatever it was. It felt good to have your own setup and to do things your own way. So initially I was involved with a friend of mine. We did a tech startup for almost 2.5 years.
Okay.
I would say from every perspective, we failed. We were not able to generate revenue. We were not able to monetize even a rupee. But that whole experience of going through the cycle for 2.5 years and going through the cycle of not only creating products, but also going through the cycle of sales, marketing, all of those things, pitching to investors, being part of a university incubation program. So we did it all. We were not. So if you look overall, like I said, no, we were not able to monetize the product. It was a tech product. It didn't go the way we envisioned, and that's what happens when you are a first time entrepreneur and you feel that you have a product which can change the world without knowing about the world and the ecosystem and so on and forth. So those things come as part of the learning, I would say. But those 2.5 years gave me, or rather made me learn a lot of things, which kind of prepped me up for my second startup. And second startup, coincidentally, or I would say incidentally, happened in the running world, where Because once you wear a particular hat,
Yeah.
right, you start seeing the world through that lens. So if you're an entrepreneur, you start seeing, okay, this can be corrected this way, there is a scope for change here, this can be done in a, so you start getting ideas, right?
Yeah.
You are in that mode. So that's when I thought that, okay, this isn't doing well. I have to explore another business line,
Yeah.
For survival.
Yeah.
And that's when I started in 2014 is when I started the sports and fitness enterprise,
Got it.
and with a specific focus on running, and how is that we could create and bring value to the running ecosystem in India. And I feel that we did our bit. We created some unique concepts. People liked it, and we have survived so far. Let's see.
Wow, wonderful. Yeah, so I mean, I would like to know that how this particular ideal role is played in a sports psychology, or for that matter, in a person who wants to do a startup. How you align, or is there a particular scenario, or is there anything you would like to share in that sense, that how you relate to it and you can progress towards whatever your goal is? How will that happen?
I think your whole perspective changes. So you start looking at things from three different angles. It is not just not the outer external world. You also start looking it from an internal mind perspective, from soul perspective, and it's life basically. So it is not that you can switch on to that mode only in certain situations. No, you have to live it. You have to live it 24/7. It's not like a typical exercise routine that we do for a couple of hours or 1 hour and the rest of the time we are off. No, this is something that you live day in and 24/7. You have to be in that awareness, and because of that awareness that you build, which takes time, by the way, it allows you to go deeper into the understanding of it. You are not looking at things just from the outside or from the external side of it. You try to go deeper into the root of it, and then you realize that at the root everything is connected. So you can take the relevance of the inner world, apply it to the outer world. Otherwise, is other way around is also possible. You can see the relevance of the outer world or the material world or the world that we see with our eyes and ear, and apply it to the inner world. That is the beauty of this. That is how things are there in reality. It is all part of it. So once you have that understanding, then when you create systems or when you design system, or I'm talking now specifically with respect to entrepreneurship, you start getting different perspective. For example, if you have if you're building a consumer product, right, then you can very easily assess the mind of the consumer much before it goes to the market. You don't have to necessarily go into a market study to understand. Yes, of course, there will be some local factors, that region factor that you might have to be aware of. But if you know humans, from deep down inside and outside, then you know how it can work. A very great example is Apple itself, which says that we know the customer much more than they know themselves. So we will build the product our way, and they will readily accept it. In fact, they will come running for it. So yes, so this platform is about life itself. It's about understanding both the inner life and the outer life. So the more deeper understanding we have about our physical, mental, and the spiritual life, then it helps us also to understand other humans. So with a deeper understanding about this, you are also able to understand your consumer. You are able to understand, your customer better in that sense. So you can use those tools as part of different activities that you partake. And your, I would say, see, organizations, companies are all about people. I know that it is also about the product, and of course those things are there, but at the end of the day, it's about a group of people coming together, right? So such a understanding really helps in terms of being compassionate, in terms of being kind, in terms of especially when it comes tough times like this, what we are going through. There is a greater need for people to also have an emotional IQ, also not just the intelligence IQ, but also an emotional IQ that we can feel for others and help them as part of it. So all of this deeper understanding can really help and shape organization in a better way. I have always believed from the last few years that every organization or every entity for that matter should consult. So what I meant was that especially when companies start, especially for a startup, we look at certain functions, like somebody will be the technology lead, somebody will be the marketing lead, somebody will be the sales lead, and all of that, right? If we can also engage, say, a psychologist, that will they could come in and identify some gaps and suggest some ideas for better functioning of the organization, and also I would say better profitability for the organization, because they understand things from a different perspective. And I will also go as now a step ahead and say that also spiritualists from that matter, so they could give perspective, which is all about getting another viewpoint, right? And to large extent it can help them, because somewhere down the line they will hit these issues at whatever point in time. So so having a deeper understanding about life will really help them, and this platform that I've created is precisely for that. I'm trying to use my engineering know-how to create systems in place, processes in place, interactions, and all of that. So you will see a lot of I would say system architecture in this ideal world. You will see a lot of tools as part of it. So I want to basically engineer this whole concept, because as such, when we talk about life coaching, it's all about things which we can't understand, and we always feel that there is so much to learn and all of that. No, we just need to focus on some key aspects, and then that could be that with that as a guide, I think we can be on that journey and then go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Got it.
That's the idea. That's the idea.
Got it. So I would like to know, since you talked about focus, and since there are so many things you already have in your own journey, like you have startup of Ideal, and then you have this startup of health and fitness, then I think you are into running. So how do you manage, and how do you feel that sometimes there is a challenge in the focus?
No, I have always enjoyed doing multiple things from a young age. Of course, at that point of time, I didn't have the freedom, but I always was into doing a lot of things. And I get excited with the idea. I get excited with execution. I don't get too excited with the result, because I feel that if we can take care of these two things, the result will take care of itself. And to large extent, the results are not in anybody's control. I know we can say that we can plan and we can take care of it, but everything comes at a cost. Everything comes at a cost of money, time, people, and all of that. There's so many factors. What I can control is my effort. And that's where I focus. In fact, that has given me the freedom to go and express myself in different areas without worrying too much about the result. But if we are convinced about the idea from a deep level, I'm saying, it's not like, you wake up one day and you get a sense and then you go out and execute it. No, I'm talking about an idea which keeps coming to you and you start playing it out in your mind, and it's making all the sense in terms of. So basically you have to go through the evaluation of the idea at a very, very honest level, right? You have to be honest with yourself, and then there is a process by which you discuss with peers and friends and all of that. It sounds good. There are of course risks involved there, not denying that, but you want to take that risk. Having done endurance activities, I think now we are built for risk, so we can take that risk and not worry too much about the result, because the real fun is in the journey, and creating something and then connecting the dots between different things. For example, I pick up some cues from the comedy that I do. I pick up some cues from the filmmaking that I'm doing, and it's all connected. And the idea is to have experiences in various areas and play with various things as part of it, and then the connect, and then always be in this constant I would say effort to try to pick up cues from others or the other activity and see how you can quickly use it in this. And that's something that I enjoy, and that's something that has been very exciting. I'm not too worried about the results. I deep dive into it. It looks great. I go ahead and execute it, and we'll see. Some things will fail, some things will succeed.
So do you feel that it comes with a cost, in a sense that it comes with the cost, in a sense it might be disappointing, or it might be, it might not give you happiness later on, if you go with that kind of a flow as well? I mean, how do you handle that kind of a situation? Do you have anything for that kind of situation then?
Yeah, of course it comes at a cost, but you have already made peace with that cost, in the sense that, like I said, you are not worrying too much about the end result. You are pretty happy doing the things that you love to do. But personally for me, I'm okay with a failure. I'm okay with not making the buck, right? But when it comes to people beyond me, and it's not just and it's not necessarily just my teammates, it is also the family members and all of that. I think that is an area that is very costly, and that is an area that I can't control, honestly. You know how things are, right? Especially with startups and businesses. There is no blueprint for success. Otherwise, everybody would have been successful.
So is there any particular regret, if you would say, is there, and you would, if you would like to unturn it, is there anything you would like to share?
So I think the only regret that I have, which is not too much of a regret, because I didn't have much control, and now, especially living in this world of these three planes of physical, psychological, and spiritual, it's not too much of a regret now. But my only wish, if I may call it, was if I had gone on this path earlier, right? If I was exposed to running, which kind of changed my life earlier, or if I was exposed to entrepreneurship much earlier in my life, not in my early 30s, but in my early 20s, then I would have much more energy. Of course, there will be other factors that I will be much more naive, unexperienced, and all that. But I feel that one learn more while doing that activity, rather than just learn. So it's not too much of a regret, I would say. It's more of a desire or a wish that I was exposed to whatever changes have come on in my last 10 years much earlier, whether it was running, it was veganism, whether it was entrepreneurship, whether it was ideal world. I get a sense that had I been doing this much earlier in my life, I would have been, much more fuller in life, much more joyous in life, because I'm right now at a stage where I'm enjoying myself, and I could have reached this stage much earlier. So I would say my only regret is that things have happened a little late, but hey, there is a long way to go. So that's not even a regret anymore.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So I would like to ask this question, because you're a father. How do you balance your sports journey, or how do you encourage your child to be able to, balance it out with her study and with her own aspiration? Because I think right now kids are I think especially for fathers, it's more of the balance is kind of not there. Either they are too much with their kids playing and they give that time, or either it is not there. I don't think there is a middle way, or a 60% or 50% kind of involvement. And how much your running or your own physical fitness is encouraging her to be able to be part of it. So is there anything you would like to share on that?
Yeah. So if you have to classify, as you said, either you do it all or you don't do it at all. I think I am more towards the second part, where I'm not doing too much in terms of what I would like her to do. I give her the independence and I give her the freedom in terms of what she likes to do, and I think that's the right way of doing it, because if I try to handhold, then I'm basically trying to give her my ideas and my blueprint and so on and so forth. She will lose her own independence, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is watch from far and let them grow. You just have to step in when it is time for say protection, or when it is time for care and all of that, and let them just be,
Yeah.
right? Even to the extent of those certain times deep down inside, I have wished that she also gets onto this fitness journey earlier.
Yeah.
And but I have never tried to push it. I have expressed my desire that yes, we should be doing it, but I have not forced upon her.
Yeah.
She has been saying, or rather, when her friends ask her about, what does your father do, so she ends up saying that he just runs. So what? And then people say that, I mean, is that even a job? She's still a long way to go. But she does run sometimes with me. We go for walks, and so on and so forth. I think she will find her time whenever it has to happen. I think giving child, or rather children, the freedom to be what they want to be, rather than enforcing our own ideology, is the best gift that we can get, that we can give to them. And that theory is much more pronounced now that I'm staying, now that I'm talking about this whole spiritual plane and all of that, right? So she has her life. We just got to be playing the role of a guardian, and the guardian role is more to guard, to so on and so forth, so that they are out of the danger. But let them play. And she has turned out to be a lot more creative, because if I had led her to my path, then maybe she would not have been creative. Today she's able to sketch, today she's able to paint much better than, of course, me. She's able to play musical instruments, she's able to catch or get hold of more languages, and so on and so forth. Had I held her hand and asked her to walk my path, so those things were not there in my on my path. I think that's the best gift, to let them grow, and just keep watering every now and then like a plant.
Wow, wonderful. I think that's a wonderful advice and wonderful input on a Father's Day. And just to close, I love this question is 5 blessings you would say that is what you are today, that you can definitely count on them every single day.
Yeah, so first is definitely my friends. I think I'm blessed to have some very good friends around me, and I have enjoyed the friendship all through.
Mm.
The other would be I think being independent right from the start. Even though I have stayed with a family, to large extent I have done things independently. Even like for example, not even having a tutor for that matter. Right, I have studied on my
Mm.
own, and
Wow.
I think that has given me the mental resilience to do things on my own from a very early age, and that is
Mm.
what I'm seeing now, that is helping me out. I'm fine tuning all of that, so that has been a blessing as well.
Mm.
uh, Doing multiple things has been a blessing, because I have not I'm always very fluid. I go with the
Mm.
flow. I see certain things, it looks nice, I want to go there and experience it. So running has been a blessing for me,
Mm.
because it has literally taken me places. I have
Mm.
traveled more in my last 10 11 years, than my
Mm.
first 31 years.
Wow.
So
Wow.
you can imagine the first 30 years and the last 11 years, the
Yeah.
amount of traveling that I have done, and it has changed me as an individual, because you know how it is, right, in terms of
Yes.
travels and all of that. So that has been a blessing.
Mm.
And definitely the fifth one is my diet, because
Yeah.
they say you are what you eat, and everything starts from there. And that has really been a game changer for me and a blessing for me. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would probably
Absolutely.
say this five. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So last is what is one your go-to book or one book if anyone Dharma would say that you should read this book. So what would that be?
Unfortunately, I don't have one book. In fact, if you honestly ask me, I probably have not finished even one book in my life. Whether it's been a novel or a curriculum and all of that. But I read a lot. That is not to say that I don't read necessarily from book. I read a
Mm.
lot on the internet, and I kind of research a lot. So there is a lot of reading involved, but not necessarily books. And
Mm.
I feel that has been a blessing, because then I have to try to do things in my way, because a lot of times when you read too much, then you are basically training your mind to such happenings or such learnings, if I may call it. So in a way, I have remained aloof from reading, and
So it's kind
I
of
feel
a
it has helped.
preconceived notion is something it stops you from something else to do. That's why you don't want to
Yeah.
go with it. Is that what you're
No,
trying to
no,
say?
no. I know. I don't avoid them purposely. To be honest, it's not like I have an aversion towards books. No. Yes,
Mm.
if there is something that is interesting, I do pick it up. I try to
Mm.
glance it, try to get the gist of it, and I definitely learn from it. But
Mm.
it's not like how people have this habit of reading books. I'm not into reading books. I'm
Mm.
more into researching. So I will go from one article to another article and try to connect the dots. And most of my learning is need based, interest based, or
Mm.
rather, I should say interest based. So I would probably pick up a book which is on diet,
Mm.
or I will research about diet. Now I'm researching about life, so I'll probably pick up a not necessarily a book, but read a lot on the internet, read watch a lot of videos,
Mm.
because
Mm.
I believe that that book is somebody else's perspective about life,
Yeah.
somebody else's perspective about life,
Mm. Mm.
which has happened at certain moment of their life, because that book was written at a certain time. Now that is past. It may or may not relate to the present times, right?
Mm. Mm.
So the idea is, of course, we can get cues. I'm not saying that people are only following whatever is written. No, that's not what I'm suggesting. But what I'm trying to say is that I would rather write a book than read a book. Let me put it that way. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So not that others should read, but I like this whole idea about creating rather than reading. So that's how I should put it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I think with that, I would like to wish you all the good luck and keep doing what you're doing and keep inspiring and wish you all the very best for 3 more Kardungla.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much.
much.